Hey guys, welcome back to Homestead 215. I just wanted to welcome also a lot of new people that have subscribed to my channel recently. My dandelion and violet jelly video got a lot of attention and I was really excited to see that, and I appreciate all the people who watched that and liked it and took the time to comment or subscribe and all those things. So if you're new here to my channel, welcome. I am gardening here in Bloomington, Indiana. I homestead on less than half an acre. I have a decent sized garden that I'm always wanting to expand and take over more yard space. And then I have chickens that we raise, laying hens right now. We're looking to eventually have more property and have goats and more chickens, do meat birds and things like that. Those are down the line plans that we have once we have a little bit more space and are able to do that better. I get the question a lot with people that know I'm a gardener around this time of year, right when everyone's starting to plan out like their tomatoes, peppers, and they're getting really ready for their season of gardening. I think it's fun when people say, oh, do you have anything planted yet? And I look around my garden and it's full. Like, it's been full. I've been gardening really since hands in the dirt since at least, well, if you count winter sowing, at least January. But that's just in jugs and things. But in actually planting things out, I've had things out since late February, maybe even mid-February for some things, and more things going in March. My strawberries have been blooming and getting ready to go. Like, I've got so much in the ground. So when people ask me if I've planted anything yet in the middle of May, I get excited because I get to tell them, yeah, I've got lots of stuff going and I've had it growing and I've been harvesting. I've had radishes and lettuces and bok choy and all kinds of things that we've already been harvesting and enjoying from the garden, and peas are getting ready to go, and like there's just so much in my garden. I thought I'd just do a quick garden tour to show you guys what it looks like now and tell you kind of what's coming up next in my garden. So here we go. Okay, so this is as you walk into the garden. I've got my 3 trellises right here down the middle. For this first bed here to the left has a lot of beans that are sprouting. I've got radishes back here in the back that are going to seed already, so those are mostly done at this point. I've got some nasturtiums that are down in here that are getting nice and big. I've got beans and Swiss chard right here that are planted. I just replanted a few bean seeds today that hadn't sprouted, so down here, I haven't watered this yet, but down here on this side, you can see the beans came up at the end there. These 2 rows came up down there, but then the rest of this down here didn't ever sprout, and I'm not sure if maybe I just totally spaced it and didn't plant this half of the bed when I was planting, or seems unlikely, but the birds got just this side of the garden bed eating the seeds. I have no idea. My guess is I planted that side and I couldn't reach far enough to finish this side, and I got sidetracked and didn't walk around here and finish planting, because it's just unlikely that every seed got eaten from these 2 rows all the way down. So my guess is it was just gardener error, and that's okay. So I replanted those today. It's supposed to rain, so that's why I haven't watered this, because it's going to get a good rain here soon. And if it doesn't end up raining enough, I will come out and water later tonight. But my Swiss chard is looking really nice. See, this has been in the ground. This says February 2nd. I did start those in winter sow jugs, so I probably didn't plant them out right in February. They are looking great, growing really nicely. I've got a few onions that are in here mixed in with some radishes. I direct sowed some marigolds, but I don't see any sprouts yet. They have just planted them last week, so they may not be up yet. But these are a lot of radishes, and I've got some volunteer squash. I thought I planted watermelon here, but then I think I waited because I wanted to wait till I got the radishes out of the way. I had some blueberry bushes over here the past few years. I have not had luck with blueberry bushes, and so I couldn't get the soil right. They need very acidic soil, and I just, no matter how I amended it or what I did, it just wasn't working, and they weren't growing well, and they ended up dying this year. So I just pulled them out, and I have planted. These are huckleberries, or they're called chicolette berries, which is a type of huckleberry, and they should produce fruit the first season according to my research. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to plant a bunch of huckleberries, and I won't need this many, but I figured I've never grown these before and I don't know how well they do, so I will just plant them all over this garden bed with enough space in between that they can produce a good amount of fruit, hopefully. And if I have way too many, I will just make lots of jams and jellies and have lots of nice Christmas gifts for people this year. So that is kind of my plan with this bed. I really wanted some fruit that my kids would enjoy in the garden, and so that's what my hope was with the blueberries, but it just didn't work out. So I've got some endive here that I winter sowed back in February. It was really small for a while. It wasn't doing well. I thought I was going to die. But then the past week or so, it's really grown. So I think it's going to do great here. I planted some more Swiss chard right along here because I had a lot of extras. So I just threw them in this bed because I had some space. Just direct sowed today. Again, I haven't watered this yet, but I direct sowed some basils in here. So I've got several different types of basils I'm going to just have in one little section here. And then this is some chamomile that I winter sowed, and it's doing really well, getting established in this bed. I just transplanted that about maybe 5 days ago or so. Over here is my strawberry bed. It has really taken off. It's actually all over the pathways, and I am kind of just letting it happen. I know I will probably regret that, but I just love strawberries and I really want a good amount. And so I decided, you know what, I can walk around the ones in the pathways and let it happen this year. And then hopefully by the end of the season, I will take out some runners and transplant them into containers or other places and clean up the pathways. But for now, I am enjoying the runners here. You can see I've got lots of strawberries forming. We're gonna have lots of strawberries soon. So many strawberries over here. There's more. I am looking forward to a really awesome strawberry harvest, hopefully here soon. I just direct sowed today some bush cucumbers. So here and here. Over here I planted some fennel, but it has not come up yet. I don't know if it's going to. I actually direct sowed it twice because the first time it didn't come up. So I don't know if it's just not gonna grow well in this spot or what. Here's a few, you can barely see those probably, but there's a few chives right here that are coming up that I planted. This needs to come out actually, that little thing right there. Okay. But yeah, there's a bunch of chives right there. And then on the trellises, oh, I didn't show this over here. On this first trellis by the beans, I've got a random, I don't know if it's a loofah, but it's a squash volunteer. I had loofah here last year, so it could be loofah, but I also had a lot of squash volunteers over here, so it could be I had pumpkins over here, I think, that volunteered, so I don't know exactly what it is. I think this bed was amended with compost that had lots of seeds in it that did not break down fully, so I think this could just be another leftover pumpkin volunteer or whatever from last year. But I do have some yard-long beans and noodle beans, and a few of them have come up. I've got 3 right there, and I've got 2 over here. It's my hori. But I went ahead and direct sowed the rest again today because several of them did not come up. On these trellises, I do noodle beans on every single rung. So I've got on every single rung, there's a noodle bean planted of some kind, whether it's Chinese noodle bean or yard-long beans. And when they grow, they take over the whole trellis and they're beautiful. And I have these nice long noodle beans, red and green beans. And I also planted those over here on the other side, same exact thing. They're gonna cover the whole trellis and they'll just be beautiful. Also over here is a volunteer calendula. I had calendula over here last year and it has sprouted and it's doing really well. Over here I have so many volunteer calendulas this year because I kind of just let them do their thing. And I don't mind volunteer flowers at all. We got a nice big mushroom growing over here, which is just a sign of good healthy soil, so I kind of just let it be for a while. I don't need anything planted there yet. I've got peas on this trellis here going across, and I've got another volunteer calendula. That bigger one is a calendula right there. Nothing's planted on this side yet. There's some weeds growing and things that I will take out when I want to plant that, but for now it's volunteer calendulas and a couple other things. And then over here on this side of the bed is actually just direct sowed today some beans. These will be green beans, Kentucky Wonder, Provider, and Contender beans maybe. So I will have several rows here. We do a lot of beans, and I just got a pressure canner this year for Christmas, so I'm looking forward to canning a lot of green beans. We just froze a lot of beans last year. We've been eating on those all throughout the year, all throughout the winter, and we still have some left actually. So we're still going to be finishing those up soon, and then we'll have canned green beans once we get all this going. These right here are winter sown plants that I need to get in the ground. These have been hardening off. If you've watched any of my winter sowing videos, you know about the hardening off process. So these are ready. I've finished hardening these off and they're just ready to transplant at this point. So I just need to get those in the ground. This is rhubarb right here. These are some zucchini plants that I've got growing here. This is strawberry spinach. The rest are just some tomatoes and some other squash. Here's a lot more peas. These are bush peas that I have, so I don't have them trellised. I have a trellis next to them that I'm going to plant tomatoes on later. So some of them are attaching to the trellis, but they don't have to be trellised. They can grow fine with just being they're a bush variety, and they will grow. Peas just low to the ground here. They don't get very super tall. This is some red vein sorrel that I just transplanted, and I have got actually a lot left right here. I'm going to up pot those and actually kind of give those away because I have enough already and I don't want it to take over. It will spread a lot in your garden, so I don't want it to take over. Over here on this side, we have my chives. And guys, I love the flowers on chives. I think they are beautiful. They're whimsical. They make me think of the Lorax, like the Dr. Seuss Lorax books and movie. I just think they're so cool looking. And when I got into gardening, like people that grew chives, I just thought that was so beautiful to have in their garden. So I just really wanted chives in my garden. So last year I planted the chives here. They didn't produce flowers last year, but this year they are, and they are just, I just love it. This is my first year with chives flowering, and I just think it's beautiful. And then over here, I've got, let's see, we've got a row of onions, if you can see those. Let's get down a little lower, maybe. You can see those onions growing right there. Got radishes that have gone to seed. This is all right now, like, a row of onions, then a row of radishes. I harvested half of these radishes, like this whole row was full right here, and I harvested those. Then I've got more onions right through here, another row of radishes. There's onions underneath there that you can't see very well. Like it's just kind of radish, onion at this point, because I'm going to pull out those radishes, and then this row will actually, this whole garden bed will become rows of onions and peppers and onions and peppers and onions and peppers. So I kind of planned it to where the radishes will be gone by the time I plant my peppers out here. Then on this side of the bed, I had some extra space and I bought way too many potatoes to plant, so I made this an extra potato bed. And it also has a ton of volunteer stuff over here. So like this is a volunteer, I think a sunflower. It's getting eaten by something it looks like right here, so I don't know if it's going to do okay, but this is a calendula volunteer. There's so many calendulas because I had calendulas here last year. Oh look, my potatoes are poking through. That's the first time I've seen a potato poke through. Yes, they are. They're poking through right here. So I've got little potatoes finally poking through, making themselves known. Oh, that makes me happy because I hadn't seen those yet. So, yep, calendula volunteers all over the place. I need to get this mulched now that I know where the potatoes are going to come up at. I'll mulch that soon. But yeah, this is all volunteers at this point with calendulas. That back there, I don't know if you can see this way in the back, but like that's all calendula volunteers back in here. There's like 5 or 6 different calendulas. It's gonna go crazy there, and that's okay. Right here in my pathway, I have some, oh no, it's dying. Oh, that's okay. Well, I had a volunteer dill plant right here, but it looks like either something ate it or it just got too hot. But this is a volunteer calendula right next to it. I tried to protect it. I had this over it for a while when I was doing yard work because I wanted to make sure I didn't step on them. And I just left it right next to it so that it would stay, like I wouldn't kick it or on accident. But that dill plant was doing great yesterday, and apparently today something either ate it or it got too hot. So who knows? But I've planted dill. I just planted some seeds today for dill. This is the kid garden. My kids like to pick what goes in here. It's mostly radishes and carrots. There's nasturtium down in here, just to have something pretty. I threw some lettuce in here the other day because I had to transplant it somewhere and I needed a spot, and it just ended up in here. Some of them are weeds. The kids don't always take care of their garden super well, so mom usually has to be the one weeding it, and it's kind of last on my list of priority because I've got so much other space to take care of. So this kind of falls by the wayside. By the end of the season, it's usually overcome with weeds, and so if I have time to get to it, I will, or if the kids are out here, I'll encourage them to make sure they weed their garden, but they don't always. This is like a kid pool, but it's a much bigger size than the kid garden one. And this one has been, I am loving this garden. Some of this stuff is going to seed, but this, like, lettuces, I mean, these are beautiful. Like, they have been doing so good. They're starting to get a little bit of slug damage or some kind of pest damage. I've harvested so much lettuce and spinach from here. I've got nasturtiums that are starting to pop up here, and these carrots have started growing over here. Some of these are weeds, it looks like, but like some of this has been, like, there's radishes that are starting to grow now. Like, those are all radishes that have exploded the past few days. Like, those were tiny just a day or two ago. This has been an awesome garden bed this year. I've really enjoyed it. Over here I have my lavender plant right here that came back in full force this year. It's spreading and getting bigger. It's beautiful. I love it. I've got more bush peas over here. I've got some flowering now, so I'll have peas here soon. I don't know if you can see those. That's the first flower I've had on my peas, so I'm excited to see those. I've got another potato. This is more potatoes right here. I've got another potato popping up, so it's good to see those. So I'll get those mulched here soon, but you can see them poking through the soil here. So that's exciting. I'm glad I've got potatoes sprouting. I made this whole space for potatoes and ran out of space, and so that's why I went to the other bed and planted a bunch over there as well. On this side I planted some Kajari melons, which I've never had before, but I've seen several people grow them, and I thought I'm gonna give those a try. The kids might really like that, but I don't have anything growing here yet. So those will grow up this trellis once they're here, and they produce a small melon that's like, you know, you can hold it in your hand, one hand, so it'll be a nice treat if those grow well. And then on this trellis on this side, I haven't planted anything yet. I think I'm gonna do some tromboncino over here to also fill up that trellis. Back here in this back bed, I've got lots of cabbages and broccolis. These bok choys have been bolting, so now they're going to seed, but they're really pretty and I just enjoy them, so I left them for now. And honestly, the leaves are they still taste good to me, so I've been eating off of them. Got red cabbage back there in the back. Lots of radishes here still that we haven't harvested, but some of them are already going to seed, so we'll have to get those out here soon. A lot of this is just weeds that I haven't had time to go through and just kind of throw some cardboard down to kill off some of these. This is a broccoli that unfortunately looks like it's going to bolt soon. And more radishes. And then over here I planted a bunch of onions. Over on this side, there's a few coming up. You can see we've got some starting. You can see that. Yeah, there's one right there. There's a few back in this row starting to come out. There's one right here. And then over here I planted more of my red vein sorrel. I figured I'd give that a little spot over in this corner as well. On this side of the trellis, once I get those radishes out, and then remember the other side's going to be, that's all potatoes right here, and that's going to be peppers and onions all the way down. But on this side of the trellis, between the border and the trellis, I'm going to actually put my tomatoes. So I'll have tomatoes on this side, peppers and onions on that side. And that way I have a trellis here for those. Last year that was a pea trellis, but I've switched it up a little bit this year to move things around. And then over here, I've got more peas on this trellis that are growing really nice. I've got, let's see, down in here, I planted okra. I have not seen it sprout yet. So I don't think I've got anything growing yet. I just replanted them a few days ago because nothing grew the first time. Oh, that might be an eggplant, maybe? Well, maybe not, that might be a weed. I planted eggplant right there. That's not come up yet. These are some beets. Back in here, these are beets that are growing nicely. And nothing else has grown on that side yet, but that should be okra and eggplant as well. These are turnips. And this is a Brussels sprout that is still growing, and then hopefully by the winter we'll get some Brussels sprouts off of that. I've got some, back through here, I've got some chamomile tucked in the back. So I'll have a nice chamomile to harvest from to make teas and things. And then these are all garlics. If you followed my videos last year, you know I moved a lot of my garden. Unfortunately, a lot of my garlic died when I moved those gardens. Just didn't transplant well over to the new garden area. So I didn't have any garden or any garlic to keep for this year. So I had nothing to plant when it was October, and I reached out on like a gardening group on Facebook for my local area and just asked if anybody had anything. And there was a gentleman who had probably about a few cloves here and there of different varieties. He didn't charge me anything, he just gave them to me, so it was awesome. I got, you know, quite a few. I probably have about 20 to 25 garlic plants now that I got out of that. So they're doing great, looking really well, and I'm excited to have some garlic again this year. Well, that is just a quick garden tour, garden update for you guys on where things are in the middle of May. But I just think it's exciting to show people, like, you can have crops growing out since February, March, depending on your zone and your area. It's very possible to be growing food all year round. You don't have to wait till summertime. You don't have to wait till Mother's Day, as a lot of people say, to plant things out. Now, certain things, yes, you need to wait until it's warm enough, because your tomatoes and peppers are not going to do well, and they're going to be stunted if you put them out way too early when it's too cold. So obviously, you know, pay attention to what you're planting. But if you want to be growing food, there's no reason you have to wait until summertime to have a garden. You can start. You just have to choose crops and plants that will work with your climate and time of year. So yeah, I just wanted to come on and encourage you guys with that today, and then also just show off my garden, because I enjoy it, and I know I enjoy seeing other people's gardens as well. So I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you got some inspiration for your garden. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd love for you to like and subscribe to my channel. If you're new and you want to let me know how you found my channel, sometimes it's hard for me to tell on YouTube, like, where things got shared. So my, like, dandelion and jelly video, if you're here because of that, where'd you see that at? Because I only posted a couple spots, and I'd love to know where you saw it, so I can kind of know how the word's getting out. And I appreciate all of you who have shared my videos. Thanks for watching. See you next time.